Back for more SCP Secrets, are you? Well, I don't blame you. There is plenty going on behind the scenes. I mean, all the Foundation should be considered a secret, but these are extra juicy, or extra impossible to leak. Well, let's get right to it. It is time for the top 5 SCP Foundation Hidden Secrets, Part 2. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-055. What is a secret anyways? Does somebody have to know about something for it to be a secret? Because if nobody at all is aware of something, how can they keep it away from other people? How can somebody not know that they don't know if there's no knowledge? How can it be guaranteed that it will remain protected and hidden if nobody knows to keep it a secret? It kind of feels like a weird self-fulfilling prophecy or paradox. My brain hurts. It might seem like I'm going off the rails a little early, but bear with me. There's an SCP out there that nobody can explain. SCP-055 is a self-keeping secret or an anti-meme. Information pertaining to its appearance, nature, behavior, and origins is all self-classifying. So nobody knows how it was originally acquired, nobody knows when it showed up or who was involved, nobody knows who built the containment cell or how said cell works, plus even though the container is easily accessible, nobody at Site-19 seems to know that it exists. It's not indescribable or invisible, it just seems as though anyone who interacts with it will forget everything about it shortly after. So how's that for a secret? Even if you find out about it, you'll automatically forget within moments. And if you somehow get information from someone else before you forget, they'll just forget it too. And the worst part is, the fact that everyone forgets all about it is the proof that it exists, right? Like, we couldn't know that we were all forgetting the same thing if we weren't all forgetting the same thing. But what exists though? Nobody will ever know. What a brain bender, eh? This is an extremely dangerous secret too, because whatever is within that unrememberable cell could be killing people or disappearing them or altering the baseline reality of our world, and there would never be a way to learn about this happening. I suppose what you don't know can't hurt you, but in this case I think it could, because you wouldn't know if you were being hurt, but it would just keep going on. Or maybe it would keep happening and you'd know it, and then you'd stop knowing it, and then you just stop existing. I suppose that is the ultimate way to die, just being totally forgotten by everything. Coming in at number 4, we've got Dr. Bright's antics. Oh boy. If you're vaguely familiar with the Foundation, you probably have some knowledge of a recurring character known as Dr. Bright. He's been around for quite some time and will likely remain for even longer. See, Dr. Bright is effectively immortal thanks to a cursed amulet that he's worn around his neck. He's also probably going insane thanks to the effects of immortality, among other daily anomalous factors. Despite all this, he is an invaluable resource and the Foundation can't afford to let him go, so they keep him around despite all the nonsense. If you are interested in specifically nonsense though, this entry is for you. Technically this is a joke article, but I like the idea that all of it's happened at some point and therefore needs to be addressed. There's an ever-expanding file full of activities that Dr. Bright is no longer permitted to take part in. It's known as the things Dr. Bright is not allowed to do at the Foundation. And it's just that, a bunch of things this immortal, potentially shape-shifting man is forbidden from doing. The Foundation definitely doesn't want all this getting out, so they keep it a secret, or treat it as a joke. But Dr. Bright is essentially an omnipotent toddler with a case of the crazies. I'll list some excellent excerpts now. At number 2, they say, telling new researchers that you can contain SCP-682 with a rolled up newspaper and a tummy rub is right out. I don't even want to think about how that one came about. Number 11, there is no market for SCP brand pornography. Unfortunately, this one's wrong because there's a market for just about any brand pornography. Number 30, there is no ethics committee, and even if there was, does anybody believe Dr. Bright would be on it? Well, this might even count as a hidden secret all on its very own. There's no ethics committee. Or is there? 37. Chainsaws are not the solution to every question, nor is more chainsaws or chainsaw cannons, except for that one time, and yes, it was awesome. Now that just seems fun. Cthulhu and Relaya are not valid reasons to send Pandora's box out into the Pacific Ocean in order to capture them. Furthermore, these are not even SCPs, and I will find the person who decided to enter a database file for them. Wow. Unauthorized use of Pandora's box and confirmation of Lovecraftian creatures in the SCP universe. 97. Dr. Bright is not allowed to send anything into the past, future, or to alternate dimensions, which we already knew was possible at the Foundation, but it's good to know that there are some limits to this. Number 146. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to produce, create, or remind staff of SCP Robot Wars. See, that's a Foundation secret, and I'm interested in it. And there's also so many more. That's just part of the list. See, this is a treasure trove of hidden information, and it really fleshes out the universe in a fun way, even if it is just a joke. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-2718. Ever break into a cold sweat while reading something you shouldn't be? Like, you see the warnings not to keep perusing, but you do so anyway? Or maybe you read something that was just full of gruesome details that made you feel dirty inside? Well, be careful while reading the entry for 2718. It keeps changing, and for good reason too. The real info is not for anyone's eyes. If you enter the page, the special containment procedures warn you that literally nobody is cleared to expose themselves to the description of the article. Close the article and clear your browser cache and you'll be fine. Continue on and suffer workstation contamination and heavy amnestic administration. There are layers and layers of metakill agents and technological hurdles to vault if you want to get to the meat and potatoes of this article. If you somehow manage to do so, you'll be greeted with a secret you wish you never uncovered. You still want to hear it? Alright. Human death has been classified Keter. But why, one must ask? We are all aware of human death. Sure, we might do our best to ignore it most of the time and constantly think it'll never happen to us, but at least it's public knowledge. Well, actually, human death is just the beginning of suffering. After you die, you feel everything. You are conscious of being dead and you remain within your own decomposing body, fully aware of your cells breaking down, your features melting away, and the cold, stiff darkness of being buried. And even after all of you turns to mulch and you're absorbed back into the earth, you feel it as your cells change and disperse. Apparently it's the worst pain imaginable for the rest of eternity. Bet you wish you didn't know about that, eh? Coming in at number 2, the Foundation made a god? You heard me, right? The Foundation, among other creations, managed to come up with a god. So we always knew that somebody would kill God, but to make one? Humans? Jeez. While running Project Rainbow Body, a mental conditioning regimen meant to develop remote viewing abilities in people for intelligence gathering purposes, a particularly adept test subject went further than anyone could have imagined. Becoming aware of pretty much everything, he transcended our reality and ended up on an astral plane, becoming a god. Kind of like a Dr. Manhattan / Paul Atreides Muad'Dib type deal. Once achieving godhood, SCP-2498 actually saw a terrible end to the world we all live in. To prevent this, it reached out to a friend still on Earth through dreams and taught them how to achieve godhood as well. And this is what happens when you mess with the human brain too much. You get gods and demons and the weird giant babies from Akira. And coming in at number 1, we've got the beginning of it all. This is one of many 001 submissions, but we'll go with this one today. The Foundation doesn't want anybody finding out about it. See, there are many stories told about how anomalies have found their ways into our lives, but this one is pretty damning for the SCP Foundation itself. According to Dr. Mann's proposal, nobody has ever discovered an SCP object. Retrievals and recoveries are staged or totally made up. All of the inconsistencies throughout the many entries there are because everything has been fabricated. Back in the day, a physicist discovered an area that did not conform to Euclidean geometry. Instead of shrugging it off, he investigated further. The investigation brought about countless new discoveries, as the physicist learned that he could create things that did not fit within the widely accepted fabric of our world. From there, his experiments got more ambitious and he brought in more help. And as more and more fantastical things came to be, the cockier and more unhinged those that the newly minted Foundation became. The goal shifted from helping the world in untold ways to creating more and more insane and unexplainable things. It became more refined, more automated, and eventually the Foundation became the well-oiled machine it is today. But not all the anomalies are accounted for. See, plenty were indeed created by the scientists and madmen under the Foundation's employ. But there are anomalies that seem to have just appeared at some point, in containment without any history or explanation. It's pretty clear that the Foundation is out of control at this point. So what anomaly will be the one to blow it wide open? Do you feel the knowledge coursing through your veins? Brand new SCP secrets, now a little less secret. Hopefully I don't get anybody fired or fired up. I'll probably be fine. So, what'd you think of the list? Did you know about these secrets? What's the scariest SCP secret you're aware of? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more meaty ones from the top 5 great horror movies ruined by their endings. Rabid Union says, silly Keegan, you can't just keep a child. Unless, however, you've met the child during a supernatural and or apocalyptic event that leaves the child guardianless. Everyone knows that loophole. But I mean, like, they're in New York City. I'm sure social services would ask them where they found their brand new prepubescent child. William Estes says, just about any movie where it's revealed that the people were already dead. Hey, there are good ways to do that, even if it does get driven into the ground a lot. Cyber Valith says, disappointing movie ending? Life. That's deep. Although I hope to leave on a good note, like getting crushed by a jet ski. Crash Bang 69 says, number 1 most underwhelming ending, Supernatural. Fight me. I mean, at this point, it's a miracle if any TV show pulls off a satisfying ending. And Melnia says, I feel like this one is excessively censored. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna try and cross the track during a NASCAR race. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And the worst part is the fact that everyone forgets it all. And the worst part is that the fact, and it's just that, it's a bunch of things that this immortal, and it's just that, red, themselves to this special, and even after all this turns to mulch, and even after you turn, how do I phrase this? The Foundation, among other creations, okay, yeah.